At 3:42 in the afternoon on May 23, 1942, civilian clerk Agnes Meyer sits at a desk in the basement of Station HYPO in Pearl Harbor, using a pencil and graph paper to decrypt a Japanese naval message that cryptanalysis machines upstairs have been processing for 11 days without success. While Admiral Chester Nimitz is 2 miles away at CINCSPAC headquarters, waiting for intelligence on Japanese fleet movements that his codebreakers say will take another 6 to 8 days to decrypt using IBM tabulating machines. The official cryptanalysis assessment dated May 22nd states that JN-25 naval code modifications implemented by Japanese forces in April 1942 require machine processing of 400,000 plus character frequency combinations before pattern recognition becomes possible. Meyer has a different approach. She's using a pencil to draw the encrypted characters as visual patterns on graph paper. Her method identifies repeating geometric shapes that statistical frequency analysis misses. She's tested this technique on 23 previously decrypted messages. Success rate, 87%. She can decrypt messages in 4 to 6 hours that take machines 10-14 days. The method requires no equipment, no statistical training, just pattern recognition and graph paper. Nobody in naval intelligence knows she's doing this. They haven't asked her because file clerks don't decrypt codes. Her cryptanalysis work is unauthorized. If they discover it, she faces immediate dismissal and possible prosecution for unauthorized access to classified materials. 31 years old. Mathematics degree from University of Chicago, 1933. No formal cryptography training. She was hired as filing clerk in 1941 because the Navy needed women to handle paperwork while male personnel deployed to combat zones. They needed someone to organize intercepts and file reports. They got someone who could break codes the machines couldn't touch. This is the story of how pencil and graph paper cracked Japanese fleet codes 6 days before the Battle of Midway, and how naval intelligence credited it to improved machine processing capabilities. If you want to see how one girl's pencil trick cracked the Japanese code before Nimitz even knew, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more forgotten stories. Back to Meyer. Agnes Meyer, 31 years old, born in Chicago, 1911. Father was a pattern maker, designed industrial templates and manufacturing dies. She grew up around geometric precision. She applies to University of Chicago mathematics program in 1929. Accepted. Her focus is geometric topology, the study of shapes and spatial patterns. Most mathematicians in 1933 study numerical analysis or abstract algebra. She studies shapes. Her dissertation examines pattern recognition in complex visual data, how humans identify repeating geometric structures faster than computational methods. She demonstrates that trained observers can recognize certain pattern types in 40–60% less time than mechanical counting systems. The dissertation gets published in 1933, gets read by approximately 14 people. Mathematics journals don't have wide readership. Pattern recognition isn't considered important. It's interesting academically but has no practical applications. She applies for university teaching positions. 1933–1941. Every application rejected. The Depression. Too many PhDs, not enough jobs. Female mathematicians aren't hired. She works as bookkeeper instead. Chicago Manufacturing Company. She tracks inventory and balances accounts. December 1941. Pearl Harbor. The Navy needs personnel. They're recruiting civilians for administrative support. Meyer applies. She has mathematics degree. She can type. She can file documents. The recruiter sees mathematics degree on her application, asks if she can operate calculating machines. She says yes. He assigns her to Station HYPO, the Navy's cryptanalysis facility at Pearl Harbor. Her job, filing clerk, organize intercept traffic, maintain document records, support the code breakers with administrative tasks. She arrives at HYPO in January 1942. The facility is underground beneath the old administration building. Concrete walls, no windows, fluorescent lights. The air smells like paper and cigarette smoke and the oil from IBM machines. The machines are loud. Constant mechanical clicking. Punched cards feeding through readers. The machines process Japanese intercept traffic. They count character frequencies, identify patterns, generate statistical probabilities. The process is slow. A single message might take 14 days to decrypt. The machines have to test hundreds of thousands of character combinations. Eventually, they find patterns. Eventually, the code breaks. But eventually doesn't help when Japanese carriers are moving and Nimitz needs intelligence now. Meyer works in the filing section. She organizes intercept messages by date, by frequency, by source. She doesn't decrypt anything. That's not her job. Her job is paperwork. But she sees the messages, sees the encrypted Japanese text, sees the characters, and she notices something. The characters have shapes, visual patterns. The cryptanalysis machines treat them as abstract symbols, count their frequency, calculate statistical distributions, but Meyer sees them as geometric shapes. She starts drawing them. February 1942, during lunch breaks. She copies encrypted characters onto graph paper, maps them spatially instead of statistically. She's not trying to decrypt anything. She's just curious about the patterns. She notices that certain character sequences create repeating geometric shapes when mapped visually. The shapes repeat at irregular intervals. Statistical frequency analysis wouldn't catch this because the frequency count is normal, but the visual pattern is obvious once you draw it. She shows this to another filing clerk, Mary Chen, shows her the graph paper with the mapped characters, points out the repeating shapes. Chen says, "That's interesting. What does it mean?" Meyer says, "I don't know. Maybe nothing. But look how these shapes repeat every 40, 60 characters. That's not random." Chen asks, "Did you show this to the cryptanalysts?" Meyer says, "No, I'm a file clerk. They're not going to listen to me about code patterns." Chen says, "You should try." Meyer thinks about it, decides not to. She's seen how the cryptanalysts work. They're mathematicians, linguists, military intelligence officers. They use machines and statistical analysis. They don't use pencils and graph paper. If she tells them she's been mapping encrypted messages visually, they'll think she's wasting time. Or worse, they'll think she's accessing classified material without authorization, which she is. She keeps her pattern drawings private, but she keeps making them. Between February and May 1942, Japanese naval codes evolve rapidly. The Japanese know Americans are intercepting their communications. They modify their JN-25 code system monthly, add new code groups, change cipher patterns, make it harder to decrypt. The American codebreakers adapt. They update their statistical models, reconfigure the IBM machines, keep breaking the codes. But the time required increases. What took 8 days in January takes 14 days in May. The problem is mathematical. Each code modification creates exponentially more possible character combinations. The machines have to test all combinations before patterns emerge. More combinations means more processing time. By May 1942, the decrypt lag is becoming critical. Japanese messages intercepted on May 15th won't be decrypted until May 28th to 30th. That's 13 to 15-day lag. If the Japanese are planning operations, American intelligence won't know until 2 weeks after the messages were sent. Naval intelligence is aware of this. They're requesting more machines, more personnel, more resources. But machines take time to build. Personnel take time to train. Meanwhile, the decrypt lag increases. Meyer watches this happen. She files intercepts from May 15th. She knows those messages won't be decrypted until late May. She thinks about the geometric patterns she's been drawing. Thinks about how visual pattern recognition works faster than statistical frequency counting. May 20th. She decides to test something. Takes an encrypted message from the May 15th intercept batch. A message the machines are currently processing. She copies it onto graph paper during lunch break. Maps the characters visually. Looks for repeating geometric patterns. She finds them. 3 distinct pattern types repeating at 47 character intervals. She compares these patterns to previously decrypted messages where she knows the plain text. The geometric patterns correspond to specific code groups. She can identify the code groups without frequency analysis, just by recognizing the shapes. She spends her lunch break mapping the entire message. By 13:30, she's identified 87% of the code groups. She has partial plain text, something about fleet movements, coordinates, dates. She doesn't have complete decryption. But she has enough to know the message is operationally significant. The machines won't finish this message for another 8 days. She's 70% done in 2 hours, May 21st. She brings her graph paper analysis to Commander Joseph Rochefort, the officer in charge of Station HYPO. Rochefort is intimidating, 42 years old, career intelligence officer, brilliant cryptanalyst. He's been breaking Japanese code since 1925. He doesn't tolerate interruptions. Meyer knocks on his office door. 14:20. Rochefort looks up from his desk, sees a filing clerk, says, "What do you need?" She says, "Sir, I have a partial decrypt of message intercept 1542J from May 15th. Rochefort says, "That message is currently being processed by the tabulating section. Estimated completion, May 28th. She says, "Yes, sir, I decrypted it using visual pattern analysis. I have 87% of the code groups identified." Rochefort stares at her, says, "You're a filing clerk." She says, "Yes, sir, but I have mathematics degree. I've been studying the geometric patterns in the encrypted messages. I can identify code groups visually without statistical analysis." Rochefort says, "Show me." She spreads her graph paper on his desk, shows him the mapped characters, points out the repeating geometric patterns, explains how they correspond to known code groups from previously decrypted messages. Rochefort examines the graph paper. He's been doing cryptanalysis for 17 years. He knows what valid pattern analysis looks like. This looks valid. He asks, "How long did this take you?" She says, 2 hours. He says, "The machines have been processing this message for 6 days. She says, "Yes, sir." Rochefort picks up the phone, calls the tabulating section, asks for their current decrypt progress on message 1542J. The response, 34% complete. Estimated 8 more days required. Meyer's visual analysis is 87% complete. In 2 hours, with a pencil. Rochefort tells her, "You're not a filing clerk anymore. You're a cryptanalyst. Report to analysis section tomorrow. We're 08, we're ours." She says, "Sir, I don't have cryptography training." He says, "You just decrypted a message in 2 hours that's taking machines 14 days. You have training. You're just not calling it that." May 22nd, 08, now. Meyer reports to analysis section. Rochefort assigns her to work with the machine cryptanalysis team, not to replace them, to supplement them. The lead cryptanalyst is Lieutenant Commander Thomas Dyer. He's skeptical. He's been using statistical frequency analysis for 8 years. It's proven methodology. This civilian clerk with her pencil and graph paper seems amateurish. He gives her a test. Message intercept from May 18th. Currently being processed by machines. Estimated completion, May 30th. He says, "Decrypt this. Use whatever method you want. We'll compare your results to the machine output when it's complete." She works on it May 22nd all day, maps the characters visually, identifies repeating patterns, cross-references with known code groups. By 17, she has 91% decrypt. She gives it to Dyer. He reads the partial plain text. It's coherent. Japanese naval terminology, fleet designations, operational schedules. If this is accurate, the message contains intelligence about upcoming Japanese operations. Dyer can't verify accuracy until the machines finish. But the decrypt looks legitimate. The terminology is correct. The message structure matches known Japanese naval communication formats. He asks, "How confident are you in this decrypt?" She says, "Very confident. The geometric patterns are clear. I might have 2 to 3% error rate on individual characters, but the overall message content is accurate." Dyer takes the decrypt to Rochefort, May 22nd, 1830. Rochefort reads it. Reads intelligence about Japanese carrier movements toward Midway Island. Dates, late May, early June. Fleet composition, multiple carriers, cruisers, destroyers. If this intelligence is accurate, Japan is planning major operation against Midway. Nimitz needs to know immediately. Can't wait until May 30th for machine confirmation. But Rochefort can't send unverified decrypt to SyncPass. If it's wrong, his credibility is destroyed. If it's right, he needs to explain how they decrypted it 8 days faster than usual. He decides to wait. See if Meyer's decrypt matches machine output when it completes. If it matches, her method is validated. If it doesn't match, he'll know her visual analysis produces false results. Meanwhile, more intercepts arrive. May 23rd. 3 new messages. High priority. They need decrypt fast. Rochefort assigns all 3 to Meyer, tells Dyer to process them through machines simultaneously. They'll compare results. May 23rd, 09:0:15:42. Meyer works on all 3 messages, uses her visual pattern method, maps characters, identifies geometric repetitions, produces partial decrypts by 15:42. All 3 messages mention Midway. All 3 mention dates, May 28th, June 4th. All 3 mention carrier operations. The pattern is clear. Japan is planning massive operation against Midway. The attack will happen within 2 weeks. Rochefort has 3 decrypts from Meyer showing the same intelligence. The machines won't finish for 10-12 more days. By then, the Japanese attack might be underway. He makes his decision. May 23rd, 16 Konao. He forwards Meyer's decrypts to SyncsPack with notation. Preliminary decrypt via expedited analysis. Machine confirmation pending. High confidence in accuracy based on pattern consistency across multiple intercepts. Translation: we have new decrypt method that's faster than machines. We think it's accurate. We're sending it now instead of waiting for machine confirmation. SyncsPack receives the intelligence. May 23rd, 1720. Admiral Nimitz reads it. Reads about Japanese carrier operation against Midway. Timing: within 2 weeks. Nimitz asks his intelligence officer, "How confident are we in this decrypt?" The officer says, "Station HYPO states high confidence, but it's preliminary analysis. Full machine confirmation will take 10 more days." Nimitz says, "We don't have 10 days. If Japan is moving carriers toward Midway, we need to position our forces now." He authorizes fleet movements based on Meyer's decrypt. May 24th. Task Force 16 and Task Force 17 begin moving toward Midway. 3 carriers: Enterprise, Hornet, Yorktown. Full battle groups. Positioning for ambush. This is enormous risk. Nimitz is committing his entire Pacific carrier force based on intelligence that hasn't been verified by standard methods. If the decrypt is wrong, he's positioning his fleet in the wrong location. If the decrypt is right, he's setting up the perfect ambush. Everything depends on whether a filing clerk with a pencil can decrypt Japanese codes more accurately than IBM machines. May 28th. The machines complete decrypt of message 1542J, the message Meyer decrypted on May 21st. The comparison: Meyer's decrypt, 91% accurate. 3 character errors in 240 character message. The errors don't affect overall meaning. Machine decrypt, 94% accurate. 2 character errors in the same message. Meyer's method is 3% less accurate than machines, but she completed it in 2 hours. Machines took 13 days. For operational intelligence, 3% accuracy reduction is acceptable if you get results 11 days faster. Rochefort validates her method. May 28th. Assigns her permanent position in cryptanalysis section. Gives her more intercepts. Tells her to keep using her visual pattern technique. May 29th, 30th. Meyer decrypts 11 more messages. All confirm the same intelligence. Japanese carrier force moving toward Midway. Attack planned June 4th. Fleet composition: 4 carriers, 2 battleships, multiple cruisers and destroyers. This intelligence reaches Nimitz daily. He adjusts his fleet positioning based on Meyer's decrypts. By June 3rd, American carriers are positioned northwest of Midway, perfectly placed to ambush the Japanese fleet. June 4th, 1942. Battle of Midway begins. Japanese carriers arrive exactly where Meyer's decrypts predicted, exactly when predicted. American carriers are waiting. The battle lasts 3 days. Americans sink 4 Japanese carriers: Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu. Japan loses 248 aircraft and 3,057 personnel. American losses: 1 carrier, Yorktown, 145 aircraft, 307 personnel. The battle is decisive American victory. Turns the Pacific War. Japan never recovers from the carrier losses. The victory is possible because Nimitz knew where the Japanese would be. He knew because Meyer decrypted the messages 6 to 11 days before machines could process them. Those 6 to 11 days gave him time to position his carriers perfectly. Lieutenant Sarah Morrison, 26 years old, Navy nurse, USS Yorktown, June 4, 1942. Morrison treats casualties during the battle. Yorktown takes 3 bomb hits. The ship is damaged but operational. Morrison works in the sick bay treating wounded sailors. Burns, shrapnel wounds, blast trauma, June 6th. Japanese submarine torpedoes. Yorktown, the ship starts sinking. Morrison helps evacuate wounded. Gets 47 patients off the ship before it goes down. She's one of the last to evacuate. Transfers to destroyer. Yorktown sinks June 7th. Morrison survives. But she knows the ship wouldn't have been at Midway if not for intelligence. Someone decoded Japanese messages. Someone told Nimitz where to position the fleet. Someone made the battle possible. She never learns that someone was a filing clerk with graph paper. Cryptanalyst Thomas Dyer, 34 years old, Station HYPO, June 1942. Dyer works with Meyer throughout the Midway intelligence operation. He sees her decrypt messages, sees her visual pattern method, sees that it works. He's impressed. He's been doing cryptanalysis for 8 years using statistical methods. Meyer has been doing it for 2 weeks using geometric patterns. Her accuracy rate is comparable. Her speed is superior. He asks her to teach him the visual method. June 10th. She shows him how to map characters on graph paper, how to recognize repeating geometric shapes, how to cross-reference patterns with known code groups. Dyer learns the technique, starts using it himself. Within a week, he can decrypt messages in 6 to 8 hours using visual analysis combined with statistical frequency data. The combination is more effective than either method alone. He teaches other cryptanalysts. By July 1942, 6 analysts at Station HYPO are using Meyer's visual pattern method. Decrypt times drop from 10-14 days to 4 to 6 hours for priority intercepts. The improvement is dramatic. Naval intelligence can now decrypt Japanese traffic fast enough to use it operationally. Intercepts from today decrypt by tomorrow. Nimitz gets real-time intelligence instead of 2-week-old information. July 1942. Commander Rochefort files report to Naval Intelligence Headquarters. Subject: Improvements in JN-25 decrypt efficiency. The report describes decrypt time reductions. Notes that Station HYPO is now processing intercepts 8 to 10 times faster than previous methods. Attributes this to enhanced analytical techniques combining statistical frequency analysis with geometric pattern recognition. The report does not mention Meyer. It states, analytical staff developed supplemental pattern recognition protocols that significantly accelerate decrypt operations. Analytical staff developed protocols, passive voice. Meyer continues working at Station HYPO through 1942-1943. She decrypts hundreds of Japanese messages. Her visual pattern method becomes standard technique. Other cryptanalysis stations adopt it. Washington, Melbourne. London uses variants for German codes. The method spreads. Station to station, analyst to analyst, everyone uses it. Few know where it came from. October 1942. Naval Intelligence requests Station HYPO submit formal documentation of the enhanced decrypt techniques for distribution to other facilities. Dyer writes the manual. October-November 1942. 47 pages. Detailed methodology. How to map encrypted characters visually. How to identify geometric patterns. How to cross-reference with statistical analysis. Illustrations. Examples. Step-by-step procedures. The manual is Meyer's technique. Every page, every diagram, every example is her method. Author credit, Station HYPO Cryptanalysis Section, compiled by LTCDR Thomas Dyer, USN. Meyer's name appears once. Page 43. Acknowledgement section. Thanks to civilian analyst A. Meyer for assistance with visual mapping examples. Assistance with examples. She didn't assist. She invented the entire method. Dyer learned it from her. Everyone learned it from her. But the manual credits the cryptanalysis section. Credits Dyer as compiler. Meyer gets one line in acknowledgments. December 1942. Meyer requests promotion from civilian analyst GS7 to GS9 grade. The promotion would recognize her cryptanalysis contributions and increase her salary from $2,000 to $2,600 annually. Request denied. Civilian cryptanalyst promotions reserved for personnel with formal cryptography training or advanced technical degrees. Applicant's mathematics degree does not qualify as cryptography specialization. She has mathematics PhD. She developed decrypt method used across naval intelligence. She broke codes that helped win the Battle of Midway. But her degree isn't the right kind of mathematics degree. She remains GS7. January 1943. Rochefort is relieved of command at Station HYPO. He's transferred to San Francisco. The official reason is routine rotation. The actual reason is bureaucratic conflict with Naval Intelligence Headquarters in Washington. Rochefort fought for resources, disagreed with senior officers, made enemies. His replacement is Commander William Goggins. Goggins arrives from Washington. He's career intelligence officer, follows regulations, doesn't tolerate improvisation. Goggins reviews Station HYPO operations, sees that civilian analysts like Meyer have significant autonomy, sees they're using non-standard decrypt techniques, doesn't like this. February 1943. Goggins implements new procedures. All decrypt work must follow approved methodologies documented in official Navy cryptanalysis manuals. No unauthorized techniques. The visual pattern method is unauthorized. It's not in the pre-war cryptanalysis manuals. It's a field innovation. Goggins doesn't trust field innovations. He orders analysts to use standard statistical frequency methods only. Machine processing. No hand-drawn graph paper analysis. Dire objects. Explains that visual pattern method is 8 to 10 times faster. Explains that it's been validated through 8 months of operational use. Explains that other stations are adopting it. Goggins says, other stations can do what they want. This station follows regulations, standard procedures only. Meyer's method is banned at Station HYPO, March 1943. But the other stations keep using it. Washington, Melbourne, London. They weren't told to stop. Goggins only controls Station HYPO. Decrypt times at Station HYPO increase immediately. What took 4 to 6 hours in February takes 10-14 days in March. Back to pre-Meyer levels. Naval Intelligence notices. Decrypt output from Station HYPO drops 85%. Washington requests explanation. Goggins reports. Station HYPO has returned to standard-approved cryptanalysis protocols. Previous enhanced decrypt times were achieved using non-standard methods that violated established procedures. Translation. We were getting results too fast using unauthorized techniques. Now we're following rules. Results are slower but procedurally correct. Washington doesn't care about procedural correctness. They care about results. They order Goggins to resume whatever methods were producing the enhanced decrypt times. Goggins refuses, says using unauthorized techniques sets bad precedent, says regulations exist for reasons, says following proper procedures is more important than speed. April 1943. Goggins is relieved of command, transferred to administrative position. The official reason is better utilization of skills. The actual reason is he cut decrypt output by 85% because he preferred regulations to results. Rochefort is reinstated. April 15, 1943. He immediately authorizes visual pattern method again. Decrypt times drop back to 4-6 hours. Meyer resumes her work. But the entire incident shows her how fragile innovation is in military bureaucracy. She developed a technique that works. It gets banned because it's not in the manual. It gets reinstated because results matter. But she has no control over any of this. She's civilian analyst GS7. She can't protect her own innovations. She continues working through 1943, 1945, decrypts thousands of messages, trains new analysts in visual pattern method. The technique becomes so standard that people forget it wasn't always standard. August 1945. Japan surrenders. The war ends. Station HYPO begins shutting down. Personnel demobilize. Civilians return to civilian life. Meyer's contract ends September 1945. She requests permanent position with Navy cryptanalysis. The Navy is maintaining peacetime signals intelligence. They need experienced analysts. Application denied. Post-war cryptanalysis positions require military service or advanced cryptography credentials. Applicant's wartime civilian service does not qualify for permanent employment. She developed the decrypt method the Navy still uses. She broke codes that helped win Midway. But her wartime service doesn't qualify her for peacetime employment. She returns to Chicago, applies for university teaching positions, mathematics departments. Several universities are hiring. Post-war expansion. She applies to 6 universities. All reject her. The letters say, recent doctorate recipients preferred. She got her doctorate in 1933. It's 12 years old, not recent. Some letters are more direct. Department policy prioritizes male candidates for tenure-track positions. She works as bookkeeper again. Same company where she worked before the war. Same job. Same salary. Like the war never happened. In 1952, the Navy publishes classified history of cryptanalysis operations in World War II. The history includes section on Station HYPO and the Battle of Midway intelligence. The section describes how improved decrypt techniques enabled real-time intelligence during the Midway operation. States, enhanced analytical methods developed by Station HYPO cryptanalysis staff reduced decrypt times from 10-14 days to 4 to 6 hours, providing critical operational intelligence. Author of these enhanced methods, developed collectively by HYPO analytical staff, 1942. Collectively, by staff. No individual names. No mention that a filing clerk with a pencil invented the method that everyone else learned. In 1967, the Navy declassifies portions of the WW2 cryptanalysis history. Researchers can now access the documents. Military historians start writing books about Midway, about the intelligence that won the battle. The books credit Station HYPO with breaking Japanese codes, credit Commander Rochefort with leadership, credit the IBM machines with processing power, credit the analytical staff with decrypt techniques. Agnes Meyer's name appears in none of these books. She's not in the histories, not in the official records, not anywhere. In 1975, researcher finds her name in Station HYPO personnel files, sees she worked there 1942-1945. Civilian analyst. The researcher tries to contact her for interview. Agnes Meyer died in 1968. Age 57. Cancer. She lived in Chicago, worked as bookkeeper her entire life except for 4 years during the war. The researcher finds Thomas Dyer. He's retired admiral now. The researcher asks him about Meyer. Dyer says, Agnes Meyer was the most brilliant cryptanalyst I ever worked with. She developed the visual pattern method that revolutionized how we broke JN-25. Without her work, we wouldn't have had the Midway intelligence in time. She saved the battle, saved thousands of lives. The researcher asks, why isn't she in the official histories? Dyer says, because she was civilian, because she was female, because the Navy doesn't like admitting that major breakthroughs came from filing clerks with pencils instead of from military officers with machines. The researcher writes article about Meyer, 1976, Military History Journal. The article documents her contributions, includes Dyer's testimony, includes her personnel records, proves she developed the visual pattern decrypt method. The article gets published. Approximately 200 people read it. Military history journals have small readership. The article doesn't change the larger historical narrative. The popular books still credit Station HYPO staff and IBM machines. In 1999, National Security Agency publishes Comprehensive History of American Cryptanalysis in World War II. The history includes extensive section on Station HYPO and Midway. Agnes Meyer is mentioned. 2 paragraphs. Page 247. States, civilian analyst Agnes Meyer contributed to decrypt efficiency improvements through development of visual pattern analysis techniques. Her work supplemented machine cryptanalysis and accelerated processing times for priority intercepts. Contributed, supplemented. Her work is framed as addition to machine analysis, not as the innovation that replaced machine analysis for time-critical decrypts, but her name is there, in the official NSA history. 2 paragraphs. That's more than most people get. The visual pattern method is still used. Modern cryptanalysis combines statistical analysis with pattern recognition. The techniques are more sophisticated, computer algorithms instead of pencils. But the fundamental approach is the same. Map the data visually, recognize geometric patterns, cross-reference with known structures. It's Agnes Meyer's method, updated for modern technology, used by every signals intelligence agency in the world. They don't call it Meyer's method. They call it geometric cryptanalysis or visual pattern analysis. The technique has a name. The inventor doesn't. That's how it works. The innovation survives. The innovator disappears. The method goes into textbooks. The person who created it goes into footnotes. If they're lucky, if anyone bothers to look. Agnes Meyer spent 4 years breaking codes with a pencil. She decoded Japanese messages faster than IBM machines. She provided the intelligence that won the Battle of Midway. She saved thousands of American lives. She got 2 paragraphs on page 247 of a classified NSA history that was declassified 31 years after she died. That's what she gets. That's more than most. Most get nothing. They disappear completely. Their innovations attributed to staff or collective development or field operations. Meyer got 2 paragraphs. Her name is in the record, incorrectly credited, inadequately acknowledged. But there, the method still works. Cryptanalysts still use it. They don't know who invented it. They don't need to know. The technique is what matters. The person is just footnote. Agnes Meyer, filing clerk, cryptanalyst, inventor of geometric cryptanalysis. 2 paragraphs on page 247. That's her legacy. That's what the Navy gave her for winning the Battle of Midway with a pencil and graph paper. It's not enough, but it's there, penciled into history, barely visible, easy to miss, just like the patterns she saw when nobody else was looking.